Turnarounds. These are stocks that are battered down, or they're hated companies, or they've been forgotten about. They're depressed in price. But you have determined some one thing or a few things that have the potential for reversing this company's fortunes, independent of the industry getting better or the economy getting better. You always have to do a balance sheet check on any company. This includes turnarounds. Do they have enough cash to make it through the next 12 months, the next 24 months? Do they have a lot of debt that's due right now? These are important questions to answer. Make sure you understand and believe in the plan to restore corporate profits. It's all internal. They're doing something, either new product, new management, cutting costs, getting rid of something inside the company that allows them to improve themselves. Lots of turnarounds never happen, but a few winners can make up for lots of losers. What's important is to wait for the actual evidence of the turnaround occurring, not just the symptoms. The turnaround, you had plenty of time. So just don't buy on the hope. Wait for the reality. Turnarounds are so big, it's worth waiting to get some real evidence.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude my DHC analysis. DHC is a REIT that has two main segments. One is senior housing. Some of their assets are leased out to second parties who pay all their operating expenses, and some of their assets are managed by DHC through a company called Diversified. DHC pays all the operating expenses on these assets. DHC's second segment are buildings and properties that they lease to medical companies and offices. DHC started to operate in 1988 and was profitable throughout all the years, including in the housing crisis back in 2009. Until 2012, DHC net revenue margins was between 35 to 40%, which is very nice. From 2012 to 2018, the net revenue margins went down to 15-20%, and the reason for that is because they started operating their own assets and not only rent out their assets to second parties. Since the pandemic broke, everything went bad. Basically, DHC was hit by a triple punch. The first one, because of the pandemic, all senior housing got hit hard. The second problem was that Alaris Life, which was having their own problems even before the pandemic, was having even bigger problems now that the pandemic broke out. The third problem was that DHC had to change their agreement with Alaris Life, and some of their assets, which were managed by Alaris Life, changed management to a different managing company. So that is basically the three main problems that hit DHC since the pandemic. Now, DHC has been losing money quarter after quarter since 2019, and the company's revenue is definitely in a very bad situation. The current debt situation seems to be manageable for the next 2 years unless a lot of bad things happen. There is no indication that the company's products or services are in a crisis. We don't have any reason to believe the companies don't want to lease their properties or that people don't want to go to their senior communities. But is the company in a management crisis? Well, the management track record isn't very good in the past few years, but it's hard to tell if this is because of the pandemic, or even if the pandemic wouldn't have happened, these problems would still have been coming onto DHC in a smaller degree. Now, Alaris Life, which manages a big portion of DHC's senior housing, is definitely in a management crisis, and they had some changes lately in their management. It's hard to say that the company's current problems are just because of the pandemic, and once the pandemic is over, everything will go back to normal. But it's hard to say that without the pandemic, everything would have been good. So I'm not planning on recommending on my channel buying or selling any securities. I'll just say if I'm not interested in the stock or if I'm interested. So my main conclusion is the company is a bad situation. Some things are seeming to be, it looks like it's becoming better, like the occupancy rate, which is going up. And I'm interested in this company. I'll assume that Peter Lynch will say, before buying such a stock, to wait for some evidence that the turnaround process is in place. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this video.